Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Put.
Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Glad you could be here again. Today's 23rd of August, August 23rd, 2016. We have a sun sign in Virgo and a moon sign in Taurus. So, refresher here. Sun sign represented by the tarot card of the Hermit, Virgo. Virgo here, the Hermit is colored gray because he's standing between the black and the white, right down the middle path between the two opposites. He's holding the lantern high, showing that we need to share the information that we have with the world. The Hermit is the one who goes into solitude. In order to be able to gain the wisdom, when he comes out, he has something to share. That's why he's holding the lantern high. So the Hermit, in one sense, is a teacher. We are all teachers. We all have information to share, and that's what's going on in this world. We're sharing this information. It's an earth sign, meaning it's dealing with things of the physical world. So he's dealing with information from a higher realm that's being brought down to the physical realm. Now, the moon sign is Taurus, and Taurus is represented here by the tarot card of the Hierophant, which is the idea of bringing, again, spirit down into the physical. The Hebrew letter Vav, nail or hook, tells us that we need to hook spirit. We need to hook that and connect it to the physical in order to work properly. That's what we have going on here. That's why this being in here is representative of a spiritual teacher that is bringing that spirit down. So very important that we do that each and every day, because if we forget, if we think that we are here just by ourselves without any connection to anything, it can be quite daunting, and we lose connection to that source that we have. The true source is the spirit that flows through us. We're just here having an experience, physical experience, and the spirit is really the part that is doing the bulk of the work. Now, the aspects we need to look at for today, we only have two of them coming up. One at 10:32 and one at 5:43 p.m. The first one involves Neptune, and Neptune is telling us that we need to take a new perspective on things. Look at things in another way. We often get caught up in looking at things one way, and sometimes we think that's all that there is, but we need to often, check ourselves by looking at things differently. This is the card that represents Neptune. This is the Hangman, and all about suspending the mind. Okay, we have to suspend the mind at times, voluntarily turn ourselves upside down to see how things look when we're looking at them from a new perspective. So if we add that together, what we have with these two is we have the moon sign of Taurus, and we have the aspect of Neptune working together. So we've got to take a new perspective in the way in which we are bringing spirit into ourselves. Maybe we're doing it in one way and we think we're being effective. We look at our perspective, change the way in which we're looking at things, and maybe we might have a different way of going about how we're doing that. Okay, and then later we have Pluto, which is deep transformative energy, lots of change that comes with Pluto. And so in there, again, we need to be prepared for the change. Let me show you what this Pluto is. This would be Pluto here. It's the tower. It's when we have preconceived ideas about a situation, and then we get hit with a dose of reality that lets us know our preconceived idea isn't necessarily true. So we have to go through some sort of deep transformation. And again, we're connecting it to here. So the deep transformation is occurring to the way in which we are bringing that from the invisible realms forward into this physical realm. Okay? Remember, it's just all about looking at energy, how we utilize the energy, and we have different ways to do it. Here on the physical world, we could just be using the energy here in the physical world and forget about our connections to any place else. And we will have some effect, but we won't nearly be as effective if we recognize that there is energy that is our source energy coming to us from the higher realms. So very important, very significant to how we move through time, through the day, and so on and so forth. All right, moon phase is currently 67.4% of the way back down to a new moon. It's called a waning moon. A waning moon, September 1st, is the new moon in itself. The daily thought, or the Jewish calendar, excuse me, is 19 Av. 19 Av on the Jewish calendar. The daily thought for today is we can heal the world. How can we heal the world? By being one. What does it mean to be one? If wherever you go you carry there every other Jew in your heart, then all of us are one. When we are one, all of the peoples can live in harmony as one, and then the world is healed. For we are the heart of the world. Kind of goes along with that saying, as we treat others as we would like to be treated. And that way we're thinking of others in the way that we're doing things, while at the same time we're thinking about ourselves. So lots of good ideas, but yeah, we need to definitely be one with ourselves. We need to be one with others. That makes the big changes. And finally, solar wind, 370.9 kilometers per second. Planetary K index quiet at a 2. Probably going to stay that way over the next 24 hours. We have a crack in the top of the sun here, something in the middle. A notification will be receiving some effect from that around the 25th, which is here 2 days from now. M-class flare possibility 1%. X-class the same at 1%. Geomagnetic storm activity is increasing in the mid-latitudes. It's going from 10 to 25% being active. In the minor realm, it's jumping up from 5 to 10%. But up in the higher altitudes, it's going to be stable for the most part. So, again, we get a glimpse of how the energy moves from place to place all around us. So that is the cosmic weather. Again, looking at the energy around us in the same way we look at the weather. We see it's sunny, we put on shorts, or we prepare for that. If it's raining, we take an umbrella, whatever the case may be. But we look at the weather, and that's all it is. A weather report of the energies around us. And a lot of times the energies are more subtle than we realize. We can just look at the physical energies and think that is all that there is. But when we look behind them, when we take a new perspective, we are reminded that there is something out there bigger than what we realize. And that makes all the difference in the world. UFO News is up next.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. Today I've got 4 stories. The first one here is a video of a cigar-shaped object that was in Spain. Again, as always, you're going to have to be the judge, and if you think this is real or someone faking this. The video itself is 2.5 minutes. Let's zip forward here. Okay, zooming in on something here. It's always much easier to see when we enlarge the screen, but I'm not able to do that at this moment here. There we go. See it right up here. So bumbling, tumbling. What is that? Doing all sorts of acrobatic maneuvers there. It is a good sighting, if whatever this may be. Alright, well that's a nice, good close of it. So whatever that is tumbling through the air there, Definitely cylindrical. And definitely very good capture. All right. Moving on from here, we're going to go to Cleveland. Cleveland, Ohio, that fuzzy looking object there. Well, that's actually this object right here above these buildings. This took place on the 19th, it was Friday. A long UFO hovered over the area of Cleveland on the 19th, going pretty much unnoticed, except for the watchful eye of Orlando Bosca, who watches the live cams for anomalies. This long cigar-shaped UFO has two glowing orbs on its upper right and left side as it hovers over Cleveland's tallest buildings. Perhaps it is marveling at the city's massive buildings. Yeah, I'm sure that's what it's doing. I'm sure that's what it's doing as it's flying through its technology in the air. Look at those buildings. All right. All right, there you go. That was over Cleveland. Now we're going to take a blast to the past, 1974, and John Lennon. John Lennon here with his girlfriend Yoko Ono, who some say was the woman that destroyed the Beatles. That's a subject for another time, though. Well, I was wrong. This is May Pang, not Yoko. How could I get them confused? I guess I didn't read the name here. John Lennon had a UFO sighting which occurred when he was with his personal secretary, May Pang, in New York. As May Pang recounts in her book, the large circular object was coming towards us. It was shaped like a flattened cone. On top was a large, brilliant red light. When it came a little closer, we could make out a row or circle of white lights that ran around the entire rim of the craft. August 23rd, 1974, John Lennon reports seeing a UFO in New York City. Lennon's sighting occurred when he was with his personal secretary, May Pang, in New York at the time when he and Yoko Ono were separated. He refers to the experience on the cover of his album Walls and Bridges, which was released in 1974, saying that he saw a UFO. May Pang reports in her book, Loving John, "We just ordered some pizza, and since it was such a warm evening, we decided to step out on the terrace," recalled Pang. There were no windows directly facing us from across the street, so John just stepped out with nothing on in order to catch a cool breeze that was coming in off the East River. I remember I was just inside the bedroom getting dressed when John started shouting to me to come outside on the terrace. I yelled back that I would be right there, but he kept screaming for me to join him in that instant. As I walked out into the entrance, my eye caught this large circular object coming towards us. It was shaped like a flattened cone, and on top was a large, brilliant red light, not pulsating as any of the aircraft we'd seen heading for a landing at Newark Airport. When it came a little closer, we could make out a row or a circle of white lights that ran around the entire rim of the craft. These were also flashing on and off. There were so many of these lights that it was dazzling to the mind. It was, I estimate, about the size of a Lear jet, and it was so close that if we had something to throw at it, we probably would have hit it easily. The object passed by. We often had helicopters flying, but this was as silent as the night and about 17 stories above street level. The object flew off but returned later, by which time she and Lennon had set up a telescope through which they could view it more in detail. The light was so brilliant coming from the craft that no additional details could be seen. We did take a couple of pictures, but they turned out overexposed. They also rang a local newspaper to report the sighting. We were told at least 7 other people had seen the UFO too. We called the police. That's how excited we were. They told us just to keep calm, that others had seen it too. During what was left of the evening, John kept saying, "I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I've seen a flying saucer." All right, so some of the inspiration there. Maybe they were just getting a close up, wondering who's that naked bloke out there on the balcony. And they said, "Oh, look, it's that rock star, John Lennon." All right, and finally, one last. Here I wanted to bring you to the MUFON website, because this is a source of a lot of great information here from the newsroom, where you got news reports, stories and people, radio interviews, You've got ways to get involved with the MUFON organization. If you want, you can just as a volunteer. If you want to learn the process of how to be a field investigator, find out where the local chapters are in your neck of the woods, research that is done by MUFON, how to track the UFOs, e-journals, and so on. So it's always a great resource to go check out because you can find out the latest of what's going on. They get reports every day. The reports go back for many, many years. And that way you can kind of stay in touch and on top of everything that is going on in the world of UFOs as they are reported. Okay, so there you go. I thought that would be quite useful to you. That is our UFO news. I will be back momentarily.
It's time for the UFO
What if
News.
our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of them.
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. The evidence is overwhelming. Step past your fear, take a look. Illuminati lies keep growing, but they're illusion from your eyes. And wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up.
All right, let's continue on. Sorry about that volume there. Hit the wrong button before I could turn it down. So, all right, as you can see, I've got my new Make America Great Trump hat here. I'm fully on board the Trump train, looking for the opportunity to move forward with a new direction. Yeah, definitely looking forward to that opportunity. So, let's take a look at things here. We got some crazy things as always going on in the world of politics. I think it's important that we pay attention to what's going on because over the years we haven't paid attention. We haven't paid attention, which is basically why we're in the mess that we're in. So many people and officials in the government have gotten away with a lot of corruption over the years because it's been unchecked. We haven't been paying attention to it. And now that we are paying attention to it, well, look what's happening. Look at all the difference that it makes. It makes a huge difference because now those in political office, they need to be held accountable. So Hillary, as we know, is filled with all sorts of corruptions. Corruption left, corruption to the right, every direction. Corruption, corruption, corruption. Keeps hitting more and more and more. This is not a woman who we really want to be running the country. I mean, just the basic things we know about this woman. Here we have a woman who takes money from countries that treat people badly. They treat women badly. They treat the homosexual community badly. They basically treat anybody who doesn't believe in their ways badly. These are not the kind of people we want to have coming into America because these people just want to hurt American citizens. I can't imagine that anybody out there, knowing that Hillary takes money from countries that are abusive to women, I can't imagine anybody would want to vote for that person to bring these people into the country. Because if obviously you're not thinking of your mothers or your sisters or your grandmothers, you know, I mean, what are people thinking? Or anybody that would, you know, be a member of the homosexual community, how you could possibly vote for her when she is taking money from countries that either throw you in jail or throw you off roofs. You know, that's not really the way we want to go. And so all around. We just look at the relationships that she has, and these relationships aren't the kind of relationships that we want to encourage here in America. And then you've got the religious ideology that is being spread by these really hardcore extremists that believe that if we are the infidels, that we should be killed if we don't believe the same thing that they believe. And again, I keep going back to the same date, 622 AD. 622 AD, Muhammad and his followers went into Medina. How did they go in? They went in as refugees. And then after they got in as refugees, after they were there a short time and they gathered their strength, they converted people, they built their resources, what did these refugees do? They attacked the very people that took them in. And after they attacked the people that they took in, they killed many of them. And those that weren't killed, they made their slaves. And the other ones that left or ran out of town, well, they were gone. And from that point, Medina then became the launching pad for them to continue moving out with their Islamization of the rest of that part of the world. It still continues, and here in 2016, we have Europe taking in refugees with arms wide open, saying, "Come on in," forgetting what happened in 622 AD. And in America, we, to some degree or another, are doing that. We have a fraction of the people in America, particularly the liberal side, that is saying that they are wanting to take them in. There's nothing wrong with these people, except they're forgetting the fact that they want to abuse women, kill homosexuals, and anybody else that doesn't believe in their way of life. But other than that, they seem like nice people. So we have a problem when we are forgetting about history, because if we forget about history, then we make the same stupid mistakes. I think enough Americans have opened their eyes to see what's going on to realize that these mistakes, if we repeat them, could be very harmful to ourselves. Especially when we start hearing stories that ISIS says that they're just over the border in Mexico, and that our border is so porous that they're just going to pour across one day and kill thousands of Americans. Well, that's not a good thing. It's not a good thing for anybody. So we have this candidate, Hillary, who's lying, 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 and then lying again. I don't see how anybody could actually support or defend her, because at a certain point in time, you have so many people that are lying, you can't keep track of all the lies. And it just kind of is really silly at a certain point in time. Well, now Hillary's been basically reduced down to a circus performer. Okay, she appeared on Jimmy Kimmel last night because of all the questions of her health. And what did she do? She went on to open a jar of pickles. Jar of pickles. And then probably looks like here she was doing an imitation of the way that she looked when the balloons came down. You know, mimicking, basically just kind of making fun of the whole situation. And it's good that she can laugh about it, but it's not really a laughing matter. I mean, nothing says you're in good health like going on a show that is hosted by a liberal comedian, having him take your pulse and have you open a jar of pickles. Nothing tells the American people that you are the person for the job more than that. But in doing so, she's doing that to try to prove something. So she's now become a circus performer, having to prove something to the people. She's already lost. The moment you have to try to prove yourself is the moment that now somebody is got the best of you, and that's what's going on. And so her audience will watch this and they'll say, "Oh, look at Hillary. She can open these pickles. She must be healthy as can be." Well, that is if you want a pickle. You can invite her to a party. She could open some pickles for you. If you're going to have a party and need to have some pickles, she might be good for that. But running the country, I don't know. And all of her health issues are resolved because we saw her open a jar of pickles? Probably not, because we also saw her having the seizures on camera and unable to walk up the stairs and all the other instances that indicate some sort of bad health situation that she's in. So hopefully that will get resolved, but I don't think she's fooling the bulk of the people. She's fooling the people that are easily fooled. Basically, that's it. Now, here's an article. Newsweek closed its doors, and it said it closed its doors with a bang. Let me read this article to you. Newsweek is now history. The liberal Newsweek magazine is going out of business, but not before it attacks the president. This is quite an article, even more so when you consider that Newsweek finally had the guts to admit it. Wow, Newsweek cover. It is their last cover before they fold. Also, the article is amazing. Let's check out the article here by Matt Patterson. Years from now, historians may regard the 2008 election of Barack Obama as an inscrutable phenomenon and the result of a baffling breed of mass hysteria akin perhaps to the witch craze of the Middle Ages. Now they will wonder, how did a man so devoid of professional accomplishment beguile so many into thinking that he could manage the world's largest economy, direct the world's most powerful military, execute the world's most consequential job? Imagine a future historian examining Obama's pre-presidential life, ushered into and through the Ivy League despite unremarkable grades and test scores along the way, a cushy non-job as a community organizer, a brief career as a state legislator devoid of legislative achievement, and in fact nearly devoid of his attention less often than he did vote present, and finally on an unaccomplished single term, the United States Senator, the entirety of which was devoid of his presidential ambitions. He left no academic legacy in academia, authored no signature legislation as a legislator, and then there is the matter of troubling associations. The white-hating, American-loathing preacher who for decades served as Obama's spiritual mentor, a real-life actual terrorist who served as Obama's colleague and political sponsor. It is easy to imagine a future historian looking at it all and asking, how on earth was such a man elected president? There is no evidence that he ever attended or worked for any university or that he ever sat for the Illinois bar. We have no documentation for any of his claims. He may well be the greatest hoax in history. Not content to want for history, the incompatible Norman Podhoretz addressed a question recently in the Wall Street Journal. To be sure, no white candidate who had close association with an outspoken hater of American like Jeremiah Wright and an unrepentant terrorist like Bill Ayers would have lasted a single day. But because Mr. Obama was black and therefore entitled in the eyes of the liberal Dom to have hung out with protesters against various American injustices, even if they were a bit extreme, he was given a pass. Let that sink in. Obama was given a pass, held to a lower standard because of the color of his skin. Podhoretz continues. In any case, what did such an ancient history matter when he was also so articulate and elegant, and as he himself has said, non-threatening, all of which gave him a fighting chance to become the first black president and thereby to lay the curse of racism to rest. Podhoretz puts his finger, I think, on the animating pulse of the Obama phenomena, affirmative action. Not in the legal sense, of course, but certainly in the motivating sentiment behind all affirmative action laws and regulations, which are designed primarily to make white people, and especially white liberals, feel good about themselves. Unfortunately, minorities also suffer so that the whites can put themselves on the back. Liberals routinely admit minorities to schools for which they are not qualified, yet take no responsibility for the inevitable poor performance and high dropout rates which follow. Liberals don't care if these minority students fail. Liberals aren't around to witness the emotional devastation and deflated self-esteem resulting from the racist policy that is affirmative action. Yes, racist. Holding someone to a separate standard merely because of the color of their skin, well, that's affirmative action in a nutshell. And if that isn't racism, then nothing is. And that is what America did to Obama. True, Obama himself was never troubled by his lack of achievements, but why would he? As many have noted, Obama was told he was good enough for Columbia despite his undistinguished grades at Occidental. He was told he was good enough for the U.S. Senate despite mediocre record in Illinois. He was told he was good enough to be president despite no record at all in the Senate. All his life, every step of the way, Obama was told he was good enough for the next step, in spite of the ample evidence to the contrary. What could this breed, if not some sort of empty narcissism on display every time Obama speaks? In 2008, many who agreed that he lacked executive qualifications nonetheless raved about Obama's oratory skills, intellect, and cool character. Those people, conservatives included, ought now deeply be embarrassed. The man thinks and speaks in the hardest of cliches, and that's when he has his teleprompters in front of him. When the prompter is absent, he can barely think or speak at all. Not one original idea is ever issued from his mouth. It's all warmed over again, Marxism of the kind that has failed over and over again for 100 years. An example is his 2012 campaign speeches, which are almost word for word by his 2008 speeches. And what about his character? Obama is constantly blaming everything and everyone else for his troubles. Bush did it. It was bad luck. I inherited this mess. Remember, he wanted the job, a campaign for the task. It is embarrassing to see a president so willing to advertise his own powerlessness, so comfortable with his own incompetence. The other day, he actually came out and said that no one could have done anything to get our economy and country back on track. But really, what were we to expect? The man has never been responsible for anything, so how do we expect him to act responsibly? In short, our president is a small-minded man with neither the temperament nor the intellect to handle the job. When you understand that, and only when you understand that, will the current version of liberty and prosperity make sense. It could not have gone otherwise with such an impostor in the Oval Office. All right, well, they went out with a bang, didn't they? That was quite the article against Mr. Obama. And of course, let's not forget he can't be bothered to get down there for the flood ravaged areas down in Louisiana. Attention, this is some of the cheating that they're doing on with the crowds. This is NBC reporter claims Trump rally crowds are small. The trust in U.S. journalism is at a historic low. Most Americans now accept that the U.S. media is completely dishonest. However, the media reporters claim such public opinions are unwarranted. Today, here's the audio-visual demonstration from NBC reporter Carrie Turr in Akron, Ohio. You decide if she's honest or not. This is her, and she's reporting Trump rally crowds are definitely small, but the enthusiasm is as strong as ever. Like boiling down to a good sauce, you concentrate the flavor. So this is what she's showing is the crowd there in Akron, Ohio, when in actuality, here is the crowd in Akron, Ohio. Oh, what the heck? Did she forget that people take pictures? Apparently she didn't realize this, and that seems to be the problem. These media persons, they're forgetting that we live in the day and age of technology that allows people to quickly check what someone is doing. So, oops. So again, we see the media is lying. We see there's lying. All right, and one more related story here. Talked about Obama being a Muslim many times, talked about him being a terrorist. Well, here's an article that speaks to both of these. It's called Obama, the Muslim Terrorist Financier. This is from L. Todd Wood. It says, deep down inside, we all have known for a very long time, haven't we, that the Obama administration is financing and enabling terror. We have known for a long time that he is an Islamist with jihadist sympathies. Why else would he have not destroyed ISIS? What better way than to just make them out to be the JV team, well, the monasticize across Western Europe and the United States? All they needed was time until there would be no time left to do anything about them. The damage is done. Now we know little of how deep this rabbit hole goes. The fact that Obama, Hillary, Kerry sent billions in cash to the real Islamic State, Iran, is proof of everything I just said above. Where did he think that they would spend that cash? Did he think that they would go to strip clubs? Nope. The cash would be laundered, untraceable, to fund terror around the world from the largest state sponsor of terror. Iran is actively supporting ISIS in Egypt. We have proof of the publicity. Most likely, we are supporting terror cells around the world as well, including the United States. This cash comes in very handy to do that, especially since Iran was having a hard time coming up with cash due to global sanctions. No problem, they said, we'll just take a few hostages, and Obama and Iranian-born Valerie Jarrett will trade them for cold, hard euros, etc. Now Europeans have died, Americans have died, Jews have died in Israel. More is yet to come. Stay tuned. All brought to you by your friendly terror financier, Barack Obama, President of the United States. So, good article. Many other good articles here by Todd Wood. So, follow the links here and you'll be able to find those and all the information that he has available. All right. All right. So, let's change gears here. So, we know there's problems in the world, okay? And again, we can keep going on and on and on. I could spend another couple hours talking about the problems in the world, but what does that get us to understand the problems? So what we have to do is we make a quick analysis. We understand there's problems, but let's look for the solutions. Now the solution, and I'm always talking about the solutions on here, are always coming from the spiritual. That's where we have to go. We have to look to the source of all that is. And so here is a great passage that is a reminder of that. Ephesians 6, verses 10 through 17. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that you be able to stand in the evil day, and having done all to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, take the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. Take on the helmet of salvation, the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. Okay, so sounds pretty simple, because it is pretty simple. We just get distracted and we get told all of the different ways that this isn't possible. Look how many times when you walk through the world that God is discussed. God's pushed away so often. So often. And when that happens, it's disconnecting us from the source that we have. But anybody who knows better, well, they understand not to connect from the source. It's like taking a plug and pulling it out of the wall and expecting that the item that's supposed to be charged by the electricity is going to work. It doesn't. You got to be plugged into that source. Good thing for us, this source is plugged into us. So we can't unplug from it. All we can do is be distracted from looking at it, because in order to see this source, we have to go inside. But when the distractions are continuously on the outside, we don't take time out to go on the inside to see what's going on there. Now, it mentioned in there about the authorities, and so I want to bring this article up again, this piece here. This is the Hypostasis of the Archons, the reality of the rulers. This is from the Nag Hammadi Library. This is very important. On account of the reality of the authorities, inspired by the Spirit of the Father of Truth, the great apostle, referring to the authorities of the darkness, told us that our contest is not against the flesh and blood, but rather the authorities of the universe and the spirits of wickedness. I have sent this to you because you inspire about the reality of the authorities. Their chief is blind because of his power and his arrogance. In his arrogance, he said with his power, "It is I who am God. There is none apart from me." When he said that, he sinned against the entirety, and their speech got up to incorruptibility. Then there was a voice that came from the incorruptibility saying, "You are mistaken, Samael," which means God of the blind. His thoughts became blind, and having expelled his power, that is the blasphemy he had spoken, he pursued it down to chaos and the abyss, his mother at the instigation of Pistis Sophia. And she established each of his offspring in conformity with its power, after the pattern of the realms that are above, for by stating from the invisible world, the visible world was invented. And as incorruptibility looked down into the region of the waters, her image appeared in the water, and the authorities of the darkness became enamored of her. but they could not lay hold of that image which had appeared to them in the waters because of their weakness, since beings that merely possess a soul cannot lay hold of those that possess a spirit, for they were from below, while it was from above. This is the reason why incorruptibility looked down into the region, so that the Father's will she might bring the entirety into union and light. Okay, so I'm going to leave the rest here because there's more to this. We've gone over this. Basically, this is talking about the Archons, the Archonic influence. The Archons are the offspring and actually the being that is the fallen being. Yaldabaoth is one name for this being. However, there are other names that it goes by in other stories. If we read through the Old Testament and we read the story of Yahweh, that story matches up with the same story that the Nag Hammadi library and the text talk about this being Yaldabaoth. Are they the same being, or is it just somebody, when they wrote the Bible, lumped all these stories together? It's quite possible. There's also the stories of Enlil and Enki that were told that predate the stories from the Bible, so it's quite possible that the stories were a combination of these characters. Needless to say, there were beings that were here on Earth that were doing different activities and involved with certain rulerships, and these beings weren't necessarily the be-all, end-all source of all things, the incorruptible source. They were just simply beings upon the earth that were, like you and I, that were living out, but were living according to a personal agenda rather than a spiritual agenda. And that's basically it. And so these Archons have gone off. They've continued to evolve with their darkness, with their misguided agendas, and they've influenced humankind over and over and over. Now, do they have any power? Simply the power of deception and illusion, so that you don't believe that they exist. And many ways they've succeeded, because look at the world these days. We don't see the darkness that's out there. It might be right in front of our eyes and we miss it. But we need to all, like Roddy Piper did in They Live, we all need to be able to put on those sunglasses to be able to see through the illusion. We need to put on the armor of God that was just talked about to be able to stand against all of this darkness. Because once we do that, nothing can harm us. It's all illusionary that something is going to harm us. So when we get caught up in these things of the physical world, sometimes it can be scary. Sometimes it can be quite daunting, because we're not certain where it's going or how it's going to all work itself out. Because we think that, oh no, this is it. This is it. This is where I'm at. This is what's happening. And it's not the case. We have a lot more power than we realize, but the rulers and the authorities do not want us to understand that. They want us to remain deaf, dumb, and blind. However, the Christ told us that we need to open our eyes. We need to hear with our ears, see with our eyes. We need to understand the plan of the Father is inside, written in our hearts. So when we see things in this outside physical reality, they're just an illusion. And many times they want to distract us from going inside. Look at all of the technology we have that keeps us looking outside, that doesn't want us to look inside. You know, the latest craze is the Pokemon Go. It's got grown people, adults, chasing imaginary creatures. This is what we've been boiled down to. It's really bizarre to see these things going on, but this is the world we're in. How did we get here? We've got here because we haven't been participating in the process. Physically in the world, so we see our world has gotten out of whack because of that, and spiritually as well, because we've stopped participating in that process. And when we allow the physical world to dictate and to push that spiritual source or the knowledge of that away from us, and we forget our connection to the source, therein lies the problem. And this whole story kind of goes all the way back to the Garden of Eden. because there is a situation there where we had humankind, and humankind had the spirit that was within it, but humankind wasn't being given the ability to look forward and understand that spirit. As a matter of fact, it was being kept from understanding that. And so I think the story in the Garden of Eden is really kind of convoluted and a distraction, an illusionary story that keeps us from really understanding. Because when we go through the text of the Nag Hammadi library, from the words of Yeshua, that this being Yaldabaoth, who we also heard as Samiel, after seeing this light, as it talks about right here, after seeing this reflection of this woman, and they became enamored with her, he says right here, "Come, let us create a man that will be the soil of the earth." And they modeled their creature as one of the earth. Now the rulers, they have the female. Okay, so basically what they wanted to do here, they wanted to take and capture the spirit of this being, the spirit of God, and trap it inside this body, this skin suit that they had made. So it wasn't about wanting to honor God. It was about trying to trap God. And they created humankind. And as I said, this story is the same story of that we know of from the Bible of when God made humankind. However, we're not told the part of the story that was trying to trap God. So there's something deceptive in what we've been taught, and there is the problem. Now the Bible's a book that certainly has tremendous amount of value. It's filled with stories of men and women inspired by God. However, that book was ultimately edited and put together by men who had political agendas. Therefore, certain books were kept out because there were a lot more books that could have been included. So certain books were kept out of this particular Bible. Certain stories were kept out. Stories were twisted around. There were different codes used in the Bible by some groups, whereas others were writing things in different ways. So once man with an agenda got involved, the whole story becomes less than what it could be. And in order to find God within there, we need to seek out not God, because God is there. God is definitely in the Bible from the beginning to the end. But we have to find where that is, where God is, and where all these stories of beings claiming to be God are, so we can understand the difference. And if we can't do that, then that's the problem. And that seems to be the challenge that a lot of religions are having, because they're not separating the two. They're just lumping them all together as this is one ultimate being, and this whole story is exactly the way the Bible says. But the Bible leads us to believe that this God created humankind for one reason, but when we look at the Nag Hammadi and we look at the other information, we see that man was created basically to be a slave, as a slave race, which ties into the story of Enlil and Enki and the Anunnaki. So, a lot going on. Needless to say, we have those rulers that are out there, these authorities, which are trying to subjugate humankind, have been doing for a long time. And this idea has continued to evolve and grow and grow, which brings us back to the point, in order to move through this world, we need to be warriors. We need to put on the armor of God. We need to remember our source of strength that flows through us, so that we can be effective in the world and not be caught up in all of the distractions, and not be caught up in the lies, and not be discouraged by all the challenges going on, whether it's in the physical world like we're seeing now in the realm of politics and the power struggles down here on earth, to our own personal lives and the people that we know and how we interact and how they try to encourage us or discourage us, or watching the media and how they tell stories. So we need to be strong. We need to use our sense. Jesus told us, seek and find. We don't look for something. We don't seek something that is sitting right in front of us. You don't have to seek for it. It's right there. You seek out things that are hidden. So, in the very words Jesus is saying, seek and find, means we have to look for the things that are hidden. We're also told by Jesus, he said that when we see him, we're seeing the Father. And we know that the Father is well pleased in his Son, Jesus. Therefore, if we were to follow that line of thinking, if Father is pleased with Jesus and what Jesus is saying, and Jesus is saying that we need to seek for the things that are hidden, then if we are seeking for the things that we are hidden, we are following the words of Jesus, and in following the words of Jesus, we're following the words of God, who is well pleased in what Jesus is saying. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing. We need to seek out. We need to look for the hidden things, because there are those authorities who have tried to hide them and deceive us to think that they're not there. It's not that difficult. We just have to use the senses that we have to be able to figure all this out. Now, here's an article over at Cosmic Starseeds. This is by Michelle Walling. It's called What Can I Do as a Galactic Warrior? We're all warriors, so very good article. She writes lots of really great articles. Do you feel like you came here as a galactic warrior but don't know what your mission is? Do you feel an impatience in knowing what is happening with the genocide on this planet but don't know how to stop it? To those of us who have awakened, know the population of the planet is being sickened by radiation, chemtrails, GMO food, herbicides and pesticides, viruses and diseases. If you have awakened to the state of dire emergency on the planet right now, you know that every aspect of living has been controlled by a small elite group called the Illuminati. They have been successful in dominating the planet through an elaborate plan that has its foundations rooted in money and greed. It has seemed like a battle that cannot be won and will not be solved in the level of consciousness in which it was created. You have been watching and listening as the messages of promise have been shared that say that the light forces will win this battle. Many people have come forth to say that they remember that they have come back from the future around 2040 because future humanity was not successful in pulling away from the control group. There are people who say that they have come here from other galaxies and universes because they heard the call. The problem is that we are here. We are all here, but when we were born, we forgot much of what we needed to remember in order to complete our mission. With that being said, it seems like things are actually unfolding as we knew it would, although it does seem cruel and unfair. While the Illuminati is playing out their genocide, they are also hanging their own necks. Pluto and Capricorn are shedding a light on the truth of what is happening, just as it should. The light forces have a trump card that is waiting to be played, like pushing over the first domino that will knock every single domino over in its path. This will be the end of control over humans on this planet who choose to free themselves. For many people, the shock of how they have been manipulated will be too much for them to handle, and they will choose to leave their bodies. Some will choose to leave their bodies because they have done what they came here to do. Others, it will be as if the light bulb goes off inside their heads and they will be ready to go to work and do what is needed to create a new earth for their children and grandchildren. We've been waiting for a series of events that will occur that will undoubtedly serve as an awakening to the rest of humanity as the Illuminati plays their last cards. These events have been just around the corner for many years and are in the final stages of unfolding right now. There are billions of space brothers and sisters of the light that are working together with patience to allow certain events to happen. They are allowing as many people as possible to begin waking up before collectively triggering a shift in consciousness that will tip the scale in favor of the light forces. The saving grace planned by the light forces has been described as a shift in planetary vibration that will take those who choose into another dimension on Earth where the dark forces of Illuminati cannot touch them. In other words, because of an increase in vibration in your body, your consciousness, your experience will be to match a dimension that is not seen from our current perspective. Those that do not choose this higher vibration way of living will be allowed to experience the control system in lower vibrations on another planet because the planet itself is also shifting to a higher level of existence. So there's a lot more to this article here. Let me jump down to the end here. It says, spend much time in imagination of what you wanted this planet to look like and how freedom will be and the new way of life on the planet. Most importantly, do not miss your cue. When the perfect storm hits, be ready to take back control of your life and be example for others to follow. All right, so read the rest of this article. Really great article, a lot of good information in there. Again, it's a call to arms because we need to be the warriors that we are. There's lots of warriors here on the earth right now, spiritual warriors, those who understand the bigger picture, those who understand that the spiritual hierarchy wins in the end. So while the darkness is out there, while the rulers and the authorities are out there thinking they have the upper hand now, their days are short. Their days are short. We know from all of the apocryphal works that are out there, the biblical stories and all the texts that have been hidden in the other findings like the Nag Hammadi or the Dead Sea Scrolls. We know that good wins. But we need to go through this time because this is a wake-up time. Because through this period of time, people are waking up to all of the deception and the illusion that has kept people off guard, off balance, and basically uninformed. But that time has come to an end, my friends. We can change it. We are changing it. We just have to keep focusing on the good so that we keep moving forward with the good and let the bad fall away as it will. Just let it fall away because that's what it's doing. That's what it's destined to do. All we have to do is simply allow the plan to unfold as it is supposed to unfold, and all will be well. All right, here's a channeled message. This was the latest one from Archangel Gabriel, channeled yesterday. Here we go.
Archangel Gabriel Daily Message tilde Monday, August 22nd, 2016 by Shelley Young. There was a time when you would define yourself by comparing yourself to what others were doing, which usually involved making yourself, or others, wrong. As you evolve, you are starting to understand that there really isn't right or wrong, there is merely experience, and choosing what is right for your own individual life expression. When you start to make choices based on what feels right at the core of your being, what matches your own divine spark and soul agenda, you give yourself the freedom your soul has always craved to express yourself in your own glorious and unique way. You see yourself as the master of your own path, and also see the mastery in others, even if they are choosing something different than what would be right for you. It is this shift from an external to an internal guidance system that will foster acceptance and freedom for all. It will encourage each soul to acknowledge and trust their own mastery and the mastery of others, to shine and embrace their own preferences, which adds immeasurably to the beautiful mosaic of the whole. Tilde Archangel Gabriel.
All right, very good, very good. Kind of speaks to what we were saying to some degree. Let's do our meditation for today. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And exhale. Take another deep breath. And exhale again. And another breath. And exhale. Now let's imagine ourselves standing out in the middle of an arena. And we're standing in the arena like a gladiator. We've got our armor on. We look around at the crowds all around us cheering. And then a gate opens and out walks this creature. And another gate opens and out walks another creature. And then another, and another. And we find ourselves surrounded by all of these creatures that wish to do us harm. And we look at them and we recall the strength of God that flows through our being. And so we look at them and we laugh to ourselves. We stand strong. And as they move forward to attack, we were able to fight back. And little by little, one by one, we defeat each and every one of these creatures. We defeat all of this darkness, till eventually all of the darkness is gone. And as we win these challenges, the people in the crowd begin thinking differently, realizing the strength of spirit that we all have within us. And person by person, this strength spreads until there's a tremendous feeling of courage. So as we move through the world, we find that these people are spreading this courage and this light, all because of an example that we were putting out into the world of simply expressing the strength of God that flows through us. And as this light spreads and as people become stronger, the darkness continues to dissipate. And we realize our place in all of this is simply to help correct that which is wrong. To eliminate the darkness and to bring this world back into its rightful place, away from the authorities and the rulers, back to the complete embrace of the Creator. And so as people wake up to this reality, they realize that the Creator has always been, and that we were the ones who simply got caught up in this illusion. But now that we see the truth, we move forward to a future bright, filled with light, love, positivity, and this unending source of divinity that flows through all of us. We pray, Heavenly Mother, Heavenly Father, thank you for all of the blessings of this day. Thank you for the strength that flows through each and every one of us. Thank you for the words of encouragement that all of the warriors before us have brought into reality, that we might feel encouraged to continue to move on our path. And thank you for allowing us to be here during this great time of change, that we might be a part of this change and making all things better. We thank you for the blessings of the Christ light that shines bright in each of us, and for the opportunity to see past the illusions and the distractions that keep us from experiencing that light. May it ever grow brighter each and every day, from person to person. And may our connection to you continually grow stronger. So let's let the subconscious mind continue on its journey, a journey of confidence and strength, simply by being the strength that flows through us. And let's just imagine sending out positivity in the world, love and light. And let's bring our conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3 coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2 coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1 coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale. And open your eyes. That's it, my friends. That is the show for today. Thank you very much for being here. Just remember, no matter what goes on in the world today, We have an opportunity to look at things from a new perspective. And from the new perspective, we realize that we have more power and more strength than we could possibly imagine. It flows through us. All we have to do is allow it to flow out into the world, to share it. And as one of us shares it with another and another and another, collectively we become stronger. And as God becomes stronger within us, all the forces of darkness that are trying to oppose that become weaker and weaker, till eventually they just disappear, dissipate. That's it. We have all the power, my friends, because that is how God intended it to be. Let's just shine that light as children of God, warriors of God, and let's do what we came here to do, to eradicate all of this evil from this reality so that the world can live in peace and harmony. That's the kind of world I want to be in, and I know it's the kind of world you want to be in as well. So let's make it happen. That's it. I will be back tomorrow. Till then, have yourselves an awesome day. I love you. Keep loving each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.